Now, all of a sudden, it's a big story. CNN's covering it, AP. You won't see Joseph Farah on there.
Why not? But you're the one who ran with this. You're the one who pushed it for 11 months.
Because I know what I'm talking about, and because I'm not speculating about where he was born. I'm saying he has an obligation to tell us, to prove to us where he was born, just like anybody else who assumes the office of...
okay, so you wake up today and you find out that your site, World Net Daily, has been blocked by who?
Well, Google first. Then I look at Bing, Bing, the new search engine, much ballyhooed. Practically nothing of WorldNet Daily is on there. Yahoo, it's all different, all in a 24-hour period. And that is what is so stunning. I mean, does this happen by coincidence, that all the search engines at the same time decide to minimize our content in relation to others? I don't believe in coincidences.
I don't know, Joe, but I'll tell you this. There's a censorship in America, as you well know. You're one of the few people covering my being banned by England. And I got to tell you, I don't want to turn it into me, but here you got Henry Louis Gates Jr., this fraud as a professor, in my opinion, a complete faker. I've been around this type all my life. Not all blacks are like him. This one is a unique type. For him to say that we have to throw out the Eurocentric literary canon and instead evaluate the black cultural voice, such as rap music, tells me he's full of crap, as far as I'm concerned. But on your website today, you have an article written by Aaron Klein where you say that this man Gates immortalized communist W.E.B. Du Bois. Isn't he the head of the W.E.B. Du Bois Center at Harvard?
Yeah, and, people probably don't remember. I mean, there are a few of us around who remember who W.E.B. Du Bois was, but this guy was a Communist Party member. This guy was a staunch Stalinist, and this guy's happy to walk around today carrying his name on
But Henry Louis Gates Jr., it turns out, is 50% white, according to his genealogical searches, and he's also, he says, descended on his white side from an Irish king. How do you like that? No, I'm not making it up. He says in his own book, actually it's a TV series, African American Lives and African Lives 2. He traced the lineage of notable African Americans using genealogical resources and DNA testing. And in the first series, Gates learns of his European ancestry, he's 50% white. In the second installment, he learned he's descended from the Irish King Niall of the 9 hostages. So I'm suspecting he may actually be a cousin of the Irish cop who arrested him.
Good chance of that.
So it's actually a family fight that we're witnessing here, Joe.
It is astonishing. I mean, all you have to do is read the mainstream news accounts and just read between the lines, and you know what happened. This guy taunted the cop. I mean, what do you expect to happen? Michael, if you taunt a cop, what's going to happen to you?
I was just saying before you came on the air that at 15 years of age, our friend's father took us all aside before we got driver's licenses and taught us, when you pulled over, don't mouth off to the cop, give him a license. Even if you're right and he's wrong, don't fight it there, fight it in court. But, a guy like Henry Louis Gates Jr. got very far with a big mouth, with using the race card, in my opinion, with constantly screaming race in a crowded nation. So he figured, why stop there?
Well, and you expect that from a guy like him, but what you don't expect, even after our experience of the last 6 months, seeing what Obama's like, we still don't expect the President of the United States to weigh in on the side of the offender against the law enforcement authority. I mean, that is what is so astonishing, that he took sides in this, not having a clue as to what actually happened.
Now, yes, I agree. Now, let's go to Gates. Isn't he a good friend of Cornel West? Who was a controversial advisor on Louis Farrakhan's Million Man March. And isn't Cornel West a communist or a socialist?
Well, he's definitely a socialist. From what I've seen, from what Aaron reported and other folks, Gates is more certifiable as a extreme left winger than Cornel West is. Cornel West
doesn't Gates demand reparations in his African American studies courses?
This guy's as hardcore. And by the way, Obama said he's a good friend of his.
Mm-hmm. Well, so now we know what we're dealing with here. And, Joe, where is this going to end? I mean, Obama's smart enough to have stepped out and apologized for what he said. You think it's going to end here?
You know what? Well, from what I'm experiencing today with this business, I have to tell you, Michael, there's no other conclusion for me to draw than the White House, than the Obama forces are actually involved in trying to stifle what we're doing here at WorldNet Daily.
What do you mean? They called up Google and they told them to what? Block access to WND?
You've seen the turnaround in the media, CNN, AP. All of a sudden, they're all covering this birth certificate business. Of course, they're all,
right.
The way they're doing it is, there's a bunch of nuts out there. Look at this. They believe in the tooth fairy or flat Earth, and they believe Obama doesn't have a birth certificate. And that's the way the coverage has swung overnight. Now, coinciding with that, we see all the search engines dropping WorldNet Daily coverage. Is that?
Explain what that means by search engines dropping it. In other words, if you hit Google for a Google alert on this subject, anything that's posted on your site is blocked?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. Number one, if you punch Obama birth certificate into Google yesterday, you'd have gotten dozens of WorldNet Daily stories right at the top because we were
yes.
covering this, hundreds of stories. Today
right.
You do it, and you'll see Huffington Post and Media Matters, and you won't find WorldNet Daily. You'll be buried.
So we're living in a communist nation now run by Rahm Emanuel and the other minions of the Stalinist brigade in Media Matters. They're controlling the news coming out of the country, coming in and out of the Internet now? You're saying they're controlling the Internet?
No, you called it the government media complex. It's the best three words I've ever heard anybody utter to explain what this is all about. Because you and I, we grew up in a time when we thought the press was supposed to be a watchdog on government. And today we see the press doing the work of government. Actually,
yeah, they become lapdogs. Guys like Chris Matthews on MSNBC are a disgrace. In another time, they'd be arrested for being shills for the government. So, Joe, who else is blocking your site? Google, who else? Yahoo, I would expect?
Yeah, Google, Bing, and Yahoo, we have seen significant evidence on those. Those are the three biggest search engines. We haven't.
Well, what if somebody put in a search for Savage Band in the UK, would the same thing happen? Blocked anything positive about this? Anything you've published would be blocked too?
Daily, it's going to be in the 5th or 6th or 7th page today, whereas yesterday it would have been near the top. That's
on the birth certificate thing.
Not just the birth certificate thing, although that's where we see the strongest evidence of this pattern. But
let's say my situation, Savage UK, would it also be blocked on Yahoo and Google?
I'm more or less speculating that it would be in a lower position today because I didn't, check that specific. I should have.
Well, this is frightening. It's frightening to see that you've spent almost a year asking a single question. You built. How many readers have replied to your request for the birth certificate?
Oh, well, we've signed up almost 450,000 people on our petition.
Do you think that they're all on the Homeland Security watch list now?
No, because they don't have their names. Only we do.
But wouldn't they all be considered right-wing extremists by the Obama administration?
They could. I'm sure they'd love to get their hands on that list.
Watch out, Joe. They're liable to rubber hose you or waterboard you.
I've been through this before. You have, too, with the Clinton administration. I think it's probably going to be worse with Obama, but we'll get through it.
Joe, one last point. As you well know, you know very well because you're going to post it first. Saturday night, we're expecting a huge breaking story out of England about what was discovered by my lawyers in England, and they're going to do a major story. You're going to link it up first. What do you think is going to happen when people finally see what was behind banning Michael Savage? You think there's going to be a sea change in this country with regard to coverage? Because right now they're not covering it. You're the only one who covered it.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. But, look, right now the press is so controlled, it's almost impossible to predict that they're going to do anything right. When I see the coverage of this issue on CNN, a 12-minute piece, and you got 10 minutes telling you, the anchor's telling you that this is not a story that you're about to see because it's all been debunked before. And then they give 2 minutes to the people to talk about why it is a story. I mean, that's the...
See, Joe, I'm used to this for one reason. I've always been a medical maverick. So for the years that Linus Pauling was proving that vitamin C was a very beneficial nutrient, and the American Medical Association continuously put out bogus studies trying to debunk the value of vitamin C. And anytime you went to the media, all you would see is that vitamin C is harmless or doesn't do anything or it's harmful. Then they ran fake studies proving that vitamin E was no good. It's the same thing with real truth, Joe. Anytime real truth comes along, it's like a real vitamin to the medical establishment.
Remember that these people who are trying to put the filters in front of the people, they don't even believe in real truth, Michael. They don't believe. No,
I understand. They believe in propaganda. Well, Joe, people have a choice. They can either eat white bread and mayonnaise, or they can eat whole grain bread with something of nutritional value on it. And I believe that WorldNet Daily, I believe the Savage Nation is the whole grain bread of the media. And if they want to continue to eat valueless white bread from the mainstream media, so be it, Joe. I'm not going to be able to change them, am I?
No, and I thank you for those very kind words. I hope that doesn't mean that I can't ever eat mayo on my sandwich.
Well, I use Saffola mayonnaise myself. I like mayonnaise, but I won't use Hellman's, for example. I mean, that's the road to purgatory as far. That's the road to angioplasty. Let's put it that way.